Hi, I'm William O'Flaherty from Adult Autism in 60 Seconds. And as I'm recording this in February of 2025, it's the 1 year anniversary for when I got diagnosed as being autistic. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I don't like to do things this way. I like to write things out and everything, typing and whatnot. But so I recorded a video just before I went in to get the results and then my reaction afterwards. Haven't watched either of them since that time. So I'm going to share first the going into it, some thoughts I had, and then my thoughts afterwards. This is Monday, February the 26th, 2024. It's the results for the autism assessment. Level 1, assumed Asperger's and such. Yeah, I guess I'm generally aware. I don't as much in touch with my emotions. I'm definitely looking forward to wishing, of course, have the results sooner. Some different ideas about ramifications or better understanding in terms of like with work and the frustration that I sense from like my supervisor and my new coworker. It's like, let me know. Don't just assume that I know something. Things of that nature. Just come with initial thoughts. Other thoughts just going through my mind here is sort of imply that the results are indicating for autism, but interesting to hear what other things from the assessments and just experience as and such. And then since having the assessment, found another a Facebook group. I think I only had an informational one. Then I found one that's Christian based, and so that was nice. Some basic support possibilities there. Kind of holding off on doing anything, not sure in terms of like announcing or sharing how to best do that and such. So anyway, I guess I'll just go in and wait here. It's less than 10 minutes before the scheduled appointment. Okay, so yeah, autism level 1, the old Asperger's confirmed. Going on memory here, I do have the paper, of proof. But yeah, the apparently the cutoff was like 7 out of a 22, and mine was 11. I don't tend to get emotional, but I am thinking about just what I did in there in terms of you know, I forget how she asked it, but I'm saying, you know, not that you dwell on the past, but to have a better understanding as to why some things worked out, why some things didn't work out, even if you know, where you're at now, I can look at different crossroads and that, well, the likelihood of this positive thing may not have transpired if it wasn't this path that I went through. Not that you want to go through bad experiences or whatnot, but anyway. But yeah, so yeah, it's a relief to kind of know. There are some minor things with work in terms of like help in terms of being a better worker that I think this will have. And you know, it's just a journey now to understand it better. I had held off on like reading about it, like, well, what if it's not it? I don't want to dive into it, and then that wasn't it. It was interesting that ruling out or you know, checking out OCD, whatever the cutoff was. I want to say she said 21 on the scale, and I scored 23. Well, because certain symptoms overlap. And this is the way it was explained to me, and I think it's in the report here, that certain symptoms overlap, that they could be just as easily explained from the autism perspective and not a separate OCD. So nevertheless, I may look into some of the symptoms um, that overlap. And then I watched just, some stuff about dyslexia in terms of some benefits or some strengths of that. So that'll be interesting as well. But anyway, so yeah, that's really all for now. Very pleased um, to have the information confirmed to um, help me be a better person. And yeah, so, okay, that's all for now. Okay, well, because in the process of recording this, I had some difficulty trying to figure out some of the logistics. I'm pretty much in my head, not really as much in touch with my emotions. I'm aware of that. The walking into it, I scribbled a few notes here. I'm looking, yeah, the lack of emotion, that is definitely a theme that I grappled with or am still trying to understand. But a few months later, I guess it was, I learned of the word alexithymia, and that's not just being not it's having difficulty being in touch with other people's feelings, but it also can be having difficulty being in touch with your own feelings. So that's something I definitely struggle with. In fact, I sort of let that bother me a whole bunch in terms of like, oh, gee, I'm not in touch. I need to be more in touch. And so I sort of got obsessed with that. And then I let that distract me a whole lot. I've mentioned to some people, I don't know, I don't think I've done a video related to this where I shared that it's like in a race, you're moving forward, but if you turn behind, that's going to slow you down. Or a driving illustration, when you're driving, there are times to look in the rearview mirror and see what's behind you, but the main focus is what's ahead of you. And so I feel like after getting the diagnosis, maybe around the 6-month mark, I was especially getting more obsessed with like what was going on in the past or what you need to be more in touch with the feelings versus, okay, let's go ahead and move forward, do things that you can now. And then maybe there's more things that you need to learn about the emotions. So that's something that stood out to me here, just watching this now for the first time. Then I was very surprised, I guess in one sense, but maybe it's not in terms of work, about, tell me if, directly, be very clear in your communication. In fact, I ended up doing a leave of absence from work for a month, basically the month of October. And before leaving, I had been written up. That was a surprise to me. And there were a lot of factors that I think was basically about things weren't clearly communicated to me. But then actually now, something that I noted after getting the results, in terms of ruling out OCD and the cutoff thing, I don't know that I have the best understanding of that. What I was suggesting in the original video, and I'm still of the impression now, is my OCD score was pretty low. It did beat the threshold to also have that diagnosis, but since it wasn't so high, that the autism aspect of it or the characteristics that's included in autism. But here more recently, really in the last week at the time of this recording, I was noticing that something that I got feedback from at least one of my friends about inflexible or not being very flexible. And that is, when you're wanting to do something and do something a certain way, which, yeah, I know that can be true for anyone. It's more so typically true in terms of someone who's autistic. But I'm trying to see about some insight. I had a frog in my throat, had to clear it and drink some water, so I'm back. But yeah, trying to gain some insight in that, I want to be my authentic self, but then I also don't want to be inflexible or, I can, it's good to speak up for yourself and to share what's on your mind. But also, for me at least, this deals more with like a change in schedule. Don't like that very much. Or when there's unknown variables in the schedule that I know that this might be going on or it might not. And then, well, what if it doesn't, but it really needs to, and just letting that unfold. So some of those things that overlap. Then, yeah, so one of the things
I recall reflecting on, maybe it was during the actual getting the results about, um, and I think I walk into this thinking this changes everything and this changes nothing. And that is, it provides a better understanding of things in the past. And so I can't change anything. Um, but then it changes everything in regard to having the better understanding. But I know that I was having some difficulty processing that and getting more stuck on that versus, okay, what things can I do instead of getting hung up on? There's a lot of stuff to do. And I did a video recently about that in terms of being unstuck. But in terms of some other final things, I see here about, I noted about having the paper, the results, even though it was shared with me the essential results. I just, the self-critical part of me had difficulty looking at the the um, um, psych evaluation. In fact, it was at least probably 3 months, if not longer, before I actually looked at it. Okay, I'm doing a dramatic pause because I'm wanting to. Oh, it's the telling others thing. Okay. And then finally, one of the things that I look at differently than I did back then, I wasn't sure about in terms of telling others, but I ultimately did get not overly, oh, tell everybody, but having a better understanding that because every autistic individual is unique, that people's preconceived notions about what autism is, unless you have an opportunity to really explain yourself, then just throwing it out there may not be the best thing. But then you want people to know that someone with lower supports needs, which is what the autism level 1 is, and that there are people that are autistic that are different than what might be stereotypically considered autism, because most people are more familiar with those with level 2, uh, more supports needs, and then our substantial supports. And I think that the wording is very substantial supports, something of that nature in terms of support needed, substantial support needed, um, very substantial. That's probably not it, but I'm not going to edit this part out because it's already going a little bit longer than I anticipated. But I wanted to share some initial thoughts as I'm in a good space, a year from out, but I know I do still have a lot to learn, and I want to acknowledge that some of the things that I had avoided because it was like too emotionally. It was like kind of like a bruise, or you didn't want to touch it. Some different things in terms of trying to understand, and so I'm wanting to help others understand it. It's as I'm experiencing, learning more about it myself. So I hope this video was helpful in terms of for those of you others who may be late diagnosed, or if you know some loved ones or friends that have been said they're autistic or they are considering it. Let me know in the comments section of what your thoughts are, what your experiences are as well. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and to like this video, and please consider sharing it.
I'm William O'Flaherty. Thanks for visiting my channel. Please consider liking and or sharing this video. Also, feel free to comment and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and watch other videos.